Hello and welcome back to the channel. On today's tutorial I'm going to be sharing with you how to draft and sew this stylish keyhole neckline corset with a basque waistline. So if it's your first time viewing my channel, please hit on the subscribe button, and if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for supporting my channel. So if you haven't yet seen the drafting video of this particular tutorial, I'm going to leave it at the description box, or you can go down to my YouTube channel to check it out. So without wasting much time, let's dive right into today's video. So first, here is my pattern and I've gone ahead to cut it out. So on the body of the corset, I went ahead to place my pattern together and I cut out one piece. So you can go ahead to double your pattern if you want to. So I added ½ round on my pattern apart from the side because we have added our sewing allowance, right? So now the next step I'm going to take is to alter the yoke. So on the pattern while drafting, I didn't alter the yoke, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it at this point. So we have like a triangle at that point, and I'm just going to go ahead and I will cut it out. And while cutting it out, I'm going to be leaving ½ inch for stitching allowance. Now on my cup, I added ½ inch round. I cut out the lace pieces for the cup part, and after cutting out, I'm going to be using a bra foam for this, and I cut out 2 pieces of bridal satin for both sides. So because of I'm still going to use the same thing to line the lining of the cup. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the lace on the doll face or the satin I'm working with, and right now I'm going to be placing my bra foam underneath it. So if you're working with an already made cup, you're going to go ahead to join your cup before attaching your already made cup. So when you're joining your pattern, please be careful before you join a wrong part to the other side. So I'm just going to go ahead to match up each cup. So after matching it up, I'm going to go ahead to stitch it up. So for the foam bra, you can go ahead to use a gum to stick it on it, or you can just top stitch or iron to gum the satin on the bra foam. But for me, I'm just going to go ahead to top stitch it round. So after I'm done top stitching it round, I'm going to bring it to show you. So this is my yoke. I have 4 pieces at each side, so I'll be separating 2 on both sides, and I'm going to stitch on this part that I have ½ inch round. So after stitching it, I'm going to notch it and turn it to the right side. So right now this is my cup and I've gone ahead to stitch it on it, and next I will be joining my cup with ½ inch on both sides. So if you're using an already made cup, just like I said, you're going to stitch up your cup and then add your cup to it. So now here is my pattern. My cup is ready and I have my yoke. Next is for my boning. So I'm using a plastic boning. So I'm going to go ahead to fold this into 2, and I'm going to top stitch, because if I turn it to the wrong side and stitch, turning it out might be difficult for me. So I'm just going to go ahead and top stitch, and after that I'll be passing my boning into it. So if you're using a Regina boning for this, or a sewable boning, this is like the perfect boning for this actually, but I have a plastic boning at home, so that's why I'm making use of it. So after passing my boning through it, right now I'm going to be stitching it on my material, but I'll be stitching it at the back so that by the time you turn it to the front, you will not be having any boning channel in front, just the line, and it will be sort of an invisible boning channel. And you can go ahead to create as many you can create many boning channels that you want, but for me I'm just going to be creating 3. And since I'm using a plastic boning, I'm not going to let my boning reach to the end of the boning channel. I'm going to push it up about 1 inch up, or 1.5 inches. So I'm just going to bend my boning so that it sits well, and I'll go ahead to create as much boning channels as I want, and I'll also go ahead and iron it out. And also for your cup, please don't forget to iron your cup with your tailor's ham. So after I'm done, this is what I had. I just created 3 boning channel. Create as much boning channels that you want. I'll go ahead and wrap the upper part of my pattern with this fabric, and next we'll be attaching our cup and our yoke. So now to attach my cup, I'm going to place the joining at the center with the joining of the cup, and I'm going to go ahead to stitch with 1/2 inch. So if you're finding it difficult to stitch directly, it is advisable to pin before stitching down. So I'll stitch on this part and flip it to the other side and repeat the same process also. So after stitching on this part, I'm going to repeat the same at the other side. So if the space you have is too small, go ahead to notch it out. So I'm done joining my cup and it's time to attach my yoke. Now I went ahead to fold in my yoke a bit, and I'm going to place it and top stitch it at the center at this point. So after top stitching it at the center, by the side I'm going to place my yoke also, and I'll stitch with 1/2 inch at this side, and I'll go ahead to repeat it at the other side of the yoke also. So after I'm done joining my yoke, this is what I have, and this is what it's looking like right now. So the next step is to introduce the lining. Please go ahead and iron a stay to your lining, but I might not really wear my dress, so that's why I'm not ironing a stay to it. So after stitching it down, this is what I have at this point. So I went ahead to remove this yoke. It was actually blocking me. So next I'm going to stitch down the allowance I have at the upper part down to the lining part of the cup. So after stitching it, this is what I have. Now we're going to use this to cover the cup at the back. So now to cover the cup, you're going to be folding in the excess allowance you have by the side. So I'm just going to fold this in, wrap up the upper part of where the boning started at the top, and I'm going to pin. So I'm going to continue following this process till I fold in all the sewing allowance inside the cup. So I'll fold with 1/2 and pin. So when you're pinning, also be careful so that you will not pin outside your cup. It is very important. Sorry, it is very important. If not, the lining of the cup will be showing underneath the cup. So after pinning this side, so at this joining, please make sure you notch it so that it's going to relax. The joining you have at the center of your cup, make sure you notch it. It makes it more easier for you to top stitch your cup at that point. So after I'm done doing this, I'll head over to the sewing machine and I'm going to stitch it up with 1/2 inch. And whatever I do on this cup, I'm going to also repeat the same process for the other side. So I'm going to top stitch from the up. I'll top stitch around my cup. So after top stitching, this is what I have, and next I'm going to go ahead to repeat the same process for the other side, and I'll also go ahead to iron out my cup. So just like I said, repeat the same process I did for the other side to this other side of your cup. So after I'm done, this is what I have, and the next step we're going to take right now is to go ahead to top stitch the yoke back at the center. This is like the easiest way to attach this yoke at this part. So I'll just top stitch it a little and make sure your boning does not touch that upper part if you're using a plastic boning, but if you're using a regining boning, it is easy to sew. So this is what I have after I'm done sewing, and the next step I'm going to take right now is to go ahead and start sewing my back pattern. So for my back pattern, I'm going to be stitching it up with 1/2 inch at this point that I have allowance. So this is the back pattern. I've gone ahead to cut it out and I added 1/2 inch, sorry, at the up and the lower part. I went ahead to notch where my yoke is going to start, which is that line. Sorry I could not iron this out because there was no source of light at this point, and I'm going to be making a mark at that point, which I'll be creating my boning channel on it for the back. So I'm supposed to use a lace for this, so the dress might be too revealing, so I went ahead to use a doll face. So I'll be using the same process that I'm supposed to use when I'm sewing a lace at the back to make this. So after that, I'm going to pin down and I'm going to go ahead to stitch with 1/2 inch. So after I'm done stitching, I'm going to fold up the back and stitch it up with bias. Now I'm going to be joining my back to the front. So to join it, I'm going to take one shoulder and I'll be using it to wrap the other side of the shoulder with 1/2 inch. So after joining my shoulder, it is time to join the sleeve of the dress. So I had to cut out the sleeve offline because of time, and I'll just explain what I did. So this is the shoulder to elbow line, and this is the full length of the sleeve, and at each point I inserted the circumference of the elbow and the wrist. So I'll notch the center, and at that center I'm going to be gathering this other part on the hand this way. So after doing this, I will repeat it for the other sleeve, and now I'm going to be joining this to my dress. Go ahead and join it with 1/2 inch to your dress, and after you're done joining, this is what you're going to have. And now I'll mark my measurement, place my tape at my under bust and place it back at my waistline. So I was supposed to mark the process of doing this, but my chalk was not showing, so go ahead and insert your body circumference. After doing that, this is what you're going to have. Now you're going to pipe the lower part of your dress. I cut this on fold, and I'm going to go ahead to fold this in place, and you're going to stitch with 1/2 inch round. After stitching with 1/2 inch round, you're going to fold it back to the back part, just like when you're attaching a bias and you're going to top stitch. So after that, I'm going to attach a zipper to my dress, but before attaching a zipper, this is what I have, and I'll just go ahead to attach a zipper to my dress. And after that, I'm going to bring my dress to show you the final look of my dress. So at this point, we have come to the end of today's tutorial. If you find this very interesting and educative, please hit on the subscribe button. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Leave your comments at the comment section, or any question you have concerning this tutorial. Thank you, and join us in our next tutorial.